The words of the teacher, son of David, king of Jerusalem. Meaningless, meaningless, says the teacher, utterly meaningless. Everything is meaningless. What do people gain from their labors at which they toil under the sun? Generations come and generations go, but earth remains forever. The sun rises and the sun sets and hurries back to where it rises. The wind blows from south and turns to the north. Round and round it goes, ever returning on its course. All streams flow into the sea, and yet the sea is never full. To the place the streams come from, they return there again. All things are wearisome, more than one can say. The eye never has enough seeing, nor the ear its fill of hearing. What has been will be again. What has been done will be done again. There is nothing new under the sun. Is there anything of which one can say, look, this is something new? It was already there long ago. It was here before our time. No one remembers the former generations, and even those yet to come will not be remembered by those who follow them. I, the teacher, was king over Israel in Jerusalem. I applied my mind to study and explore by wisdom all that is done under the heavens. What a heavy burden God has laid on mankind. I have seen all the things that are done under the sun. All of them are meaningless, a chasing after the wind.
Do keep that open. I've got a picture on the screen of Ryan Karji. I think that's how you say his name. He's a YouTuber with nearly 40 million people subscribed to his content. His channel has more than 60 billion views. Does anybody know what kind of videos that Ryan made that became really popular? Does anyone know? He did reviews of toys. He reviewed different toys that he found in the toy shop. And YouTube is full of people doing reviews. You can find reviews of movies, reviews of video games, reviews of cars, reviews of Hoovers, reviews of anything really that you can think of. And in verse 1, we were introduced to the teacher. That's his name. That's his kind of official title of the book. And I want you to think of the teacher in Ecclesiastes as like a YouTube reviewer. And what he reviews is everything. Everything under the sun that a human being might go to in order to make their life full, the teacher has reviewed it. He's tried these things out. He's watched others as they've tried them out. And Ecclesiastes is his review for us to read. Only instead of doing it through a YouTube video, his come in the form of poems. And so let's see what the teacher has to say about everything under the sun. Verse 2, meaningless, meaningless, says the teacher, utterly meaningless. Everything is meaningless. It's not exactly a 5-star review, is it? This is the teacher's favorite word, meaningless. He says it 38 times in the book of Ecclesiastes. The actual word in Hebrew is hevel, Hevel, which is Hebrew for vapor or bubbles or smoke. Now, as we move deeper into the autumn months, have you noticed it's getting colder? It's colder out there tonight than it has been like maybe last week. And some of the autumn mornings, it gets really foggy. You might have a wall of fog in front of you and you can't see. Or you might sometimes have a blanket of fog sitting over the fields. Or sometimes it's so crisp and fresh in the morning that you can see your own breath. You know when you can breathe out and you see your breath and you pretend to be a dragon, or at least I do. And it's so cold that you can make yourself a hot drink like some of you have when you got here today. And if you want, you sit and watch the smoke from your hot drink shifting between the shapes as it twirls upwards before it fades away out of existence. Fog, vapor, breath, smoke. It's a really funny thing. It can look like a thick blanket, but when you try and grab it, there's nothing there. It can completely obscure your vision, so you don't know where you are. Or it can look like one thing for a moment, and then it shifts and twists into something else entirely. That's what the teacher means in verse 2. Meaningless. He's saying smoke, breath, utterly foggy. Everything is like fog and breath and smoke. It's not that things have no meaning or no point to them. It's just that the meaning of things can be really confusing or obscuring or almost impossible to pin down. And isn't that our experience? Do you remember life's vending machine? You put in X, and what comes out? Well, sometimes it's Y, other times it's really not. Have a look at verse 3. These are some of the things that the teacher reviews. What do people gain from all their labors at which they toil under the sun? I wonder what your answer is to that. When you wake up, what drives you to do your homework well, or to clock in on time, or to get on with the jobs that you need to do around the house, or to try and do something productive with your children? Maybe you're driven by some idea of legacy. If you study hard, you could really do something that changes the world one day. You could go down in history. Here's what the teacher says in verse 4. He says, generations come and generations go, but the earth remains forever. The sun rises and the sun sets and hurries back to where it rises. The wind blows to the south and turns to the north. Round and round it goes, ever returning on its course. Well, have a look at verse 11. No one remembers the former generations, and even those yet to come will not be remembered by those who follow them. Now, this is a risky question because I'm aware that William's in the room. You might have to be quiet for this, William. But can you name your 8 great-grandparents? I don't know if mine worked hard all their life, but if they did, they're not remembered now. Or what about this? It's estimated that between 70 and 85 million people died as a result of the conflict in World War II. And every year in November, we dedicate a whole day, a whole week, to remembering those that fought and died. Could you name me 8 soldiers who died as a result of that war? You put in hard work, but you don't always get a legacy. Or maybe your drive is purpose. You like to feel like you've achieved something. Here's the teacher in verse 7. Have a look. All streams flow into the sea, yet the sea is never full. I was chatting to the dad of some of our youth group members a couple of Fridays ago, and he said, I've had a very busy week. Mike. And then his face lit up a little, and he said, but it's the weekend now. Saturday tomorrow, so it's behind me. And then his face dropped again, although next week's a really busy one as well. All streams flow into the sea, yet the sea's never full. Work keeps going, doesn't it? You put in the hard work, but you don't always achieve. Or maybe you get up and you get on because the sooner you do it, the sooner you can return to what you really enjoy. And now, maybe you've got more money to enjoy it with as well. Maybe it's even the thought of retirement that keeps you going. Here's the teacher in verse 8. All things are wearisome, more than one can say. It's estimated that 1/3 of people begin to suffer with depression when they retire. Isn't that kind of disturbing? You work all your life really hard, looking forward to when you retire, and when you get there, you find all things are wearisome. You put in hard work, but you don't always get to enjoy the fruits of your labor. Verse 8, look at it again. All things are wearisome, more than one can say. The eye never has enough of seeing, nor the ear its fill of hearing. Do you know those days when you come home and you finally, maybe you finally get the kids to bed, you're finally back from school, and you sit down, and it's finally time to do something that you enjoy. And you change the channel, and you change the channel, and you change the channel. Or you scroll, and you scroll, and you scroll. We've got all these apps and all these channels, but somehow there's never anything really that good on. And before you know it, you're up way too late and you haven't actually really watched anything or done anything. And all you feel is terrible because tomorrow you're going to have to wake up even more tired now that you stayed up late and you have to start all over again. Do you see what the teacher means? The eye never has enough of seeing, nor the ear its fill of hearing. Have a look at verse 12. I, the teacher, was king over Israel in Jerusalem. I applied my mind to study and to explore by wisdom all that is done under the heavens. The teacher has been there and he's done that. He was king over Israel. He's had all the opportunity, all of the funds, all of the access, all of the entertainment, all of the purpose and the legacy you could ever dream of. What's his review of all of those things? Have a look at the end of verse 13. What a heavy burden God has laid on mankind. I've seen all the things that are done under the sun. All of them are meaningless. A chasing after the wind. What do you do when the vending machine stops working? Well, there you go. You've met the teacher. I wonder what you make of the teacher. Negative? A spoil sport? Pessimistic? Cynical? Maybe even unchristian? He's not exactly the kind of person you'd want to invite to your next birthday party, is he? I don't think he'd be a good person to put on the welcoming rota at church either. Here's the thing. I want you to see that the teacher is actually your friend. He might seem like the biggest dirge, but what he has to say could be tremendously helpful to you if you take it on board. What our friend, the teacher, wants us to realize is actually, it's not that God's pattern for the world is broken at all. It's actually we, us, who are broken. Now, the world is like a vending machine. It would be a massive vending machine. Think of all the stuff that's around us. There's so much opportunity. There's so much under the sun that we can do and enjoy. Work can be really enjoyable. Careers can be a thoroughly worthwhile pursuit. Movies and games and toys and YouTube, all of them can be wonderful things to enjoy. Or music and sports and painting and baking or making apple juice or making cider. We tried some of your apple juice that was good. I haven't tried your cider yet. You don't want to. And there's just so many hobbies we can throw ourselves into and just do them for fun, just because they're fun, or we can practice them and excel in them. There's so much good in this world that God has given us. Our homes, our friends, our church, our families. What a blessing those things can be to us and to each other. And underneath all of that is those lines, those streaks and ripples. God's good creation, ingrained with his good wisdom and justice and fairness. The vending machine isn't broken. What's broken is how we engage with those things. Now, you want to make your life full, I presume, right? Of course we do. But what we do is we turn to those things and you put whatever it is into the vending machine. You put your time in, or your money in, or your effort, whatever it is, and then you mash the button and you say, make me full, vending machine, make me full, make me full. But these things don't have enough to give you what you're trying to squeeze out of them. They can't fill you up. We put those things under a pressure that they can't sustain. We're standing at the vending machine, snacking and snacking and snacking, when what we really need is nourishment. And then we get addicted to things. I mean, look at us. We're all addicted to our phones, to our bingeable series, to our content. We can never watch enough, can we? Like verse 8 says, the eye never has enough of seeing, nor the ear its fill of hearing. And we can just tip hours or thousands into this deep pit that is never satisfied by these kind of things. Most of the time, we're not even enjoying them. They become like a husk They become a bit like, when you finish a milkshake and you're just slurping and slurping away at the bottom, but nothing's coming up through the straw. That's how God's good gifts become wearisome. And the really scary thing is, we don't just do this with our Netflix accounts. We're perfectly capable of treating our friends or our church or our husbands and wives or our children in the same vampiric kind of way. We're the ones that are broken. We turn good things, we try and make them into God things. I heard someone say once that God's 10 Commandments it's just God being big-headed. It's all about himself. Because the first one is, you shall have no other gods before me. Yeah, sure, good for God, right? And that's why idolatry is taken so seriously in the Bible, because God's got to be the most important one. But it's not that at all. It's not good for us to practice idolatry or to have other gods before the one true God. It's bad for us. That's why it's taken so seriously in the Old Testament especially. Now, do you remember Homer? How his problem with the vending machine was because he didn't let go of the snacks? When we grip onto these things and we squeeze them for fulfillment and purpose and meaning, that's when we find it will turn to smoke and disappointment. And instead, what the teacher is trying to do, why he's a good friend to us, he's trying to train us to let go of these things. He's not necessarily saying you need to go out and you need to give everything up. They're still good gifts from God, but he wants us to hold on to them lightly and be ready to let them go. I'm going to finish with a little story, and I think I've got some words on the screen. Thank you, Daisy. A woman goes to get water from a well. She's been divorced 5 times in her life. She's now living with another man. What she did was, she saw God's good gift of sex and relationships. And she saw it was a good thing. And so she grabbed onto it, she squeezed, and she pressed the button in the hope that it was going to make her full. But it wasn't making her life full. So she kept pressing it, but it wasn't satisfying her. Maybe you know what it's like to feel unsatisfied this evening as well. Well, in John 4, Jesus meets that woman. He finds her by the well, and he says to her, everyone who drinks this water will be thirsty again. It's the same as what we've read in Ecclesiastes, isn't it? It's the voice of the teacher, but Jesus speaking the words. Everyone who drinks this water will be thirsty again. Everyone who chases after sex or friends or pleasure or careers or legacy or purpose or content, you'll be thirsty for it again. But then Jesus says this, but whoever drinks the water that I give them will never thirst. Indeed, the water I give them will become in them a spring of water welling up to eternal life. Now, it's important to make this clear. Jesus is not saying, become a Christian and everything will go well for you. That's that same formula again, isn't it? It's too straightforward and simple. That's not what Jesus is saying. What Jesus is saying is this. There's nothing under the sun that can give you life to the full, except for Jesus. And so what does wisdom look like? Well, it looks like holding lightly to the things on the earth and being ready and having open hands to receive what Jesus has to give. We're going to pray, and Dave is going to lead us